The 2016 film called Trolls by DreamWorks Animation presents to us two species, trolls and Bergens. Trolls are small, brightly colored creatures that like to sing and dance and sing and dance and sing and dance and have coordinated hug time every hour. Bergens are portrayed as big, dull-colored, unhappy creatures that are constantly miserable. There's only one day a year when a Bergen is happy, on Trollstice. The annual Trollstice celebration leads to Bergens burgeoning with happiness because on this day, they get to eat trolls. You see, Bergens believe that the only way they can be happy is by eating trolls. But does the consumption of trolls really lead to happiness?
Down with DCE. Yeah, you know me. You down with DCE? Yeah, you know me. You down with DCE? Yeah, you know me. Who's down with DCE?
To answer this question, what we need to do is conduct some actual science to put the troll theory to the test. Let's say we received a large grant from the National Institutes of Health to financially support our research that aims to explore if the consumption of trolls really leads to happiness. What would be the best research design to answer this question? Would it be best to implement a correlational research design? Or would it be better to implement an experimental research design? Yeah, I guess you're right. First, we need to learn what the differences between these two designs actually are. It is important to know the foundational differences between these two research designs so that when you encounter research, you can know which design they follow and thus have critical insight into the strengths and weaknesses of the research. In fact, you can usually know a study's research design just by reading the free abstract they provide. While there are various factors that could be used to distinguish correlational research from experimental research design, there are two factors that are of utmost importance: control and experimental groups. This may not be explicit in an abstract, so ask yourself, are the groups doing the same exact thing? If not, it most likely is an experimental design. Both types of research designs could use groups, but only experimental research will strategically manipulate the experiences of the groups. For example, correlational research could have two groups when studying bilingualism, a group of monolinguals and a group of bilinguals, both exposed to the same experiment. Importantly, the researchers did not make these participants bilingual. Their bilingualism pre-existed, and both groups are doing the exact same experiment. On the other hand, experimental research could also have two groups when studying bilingualism: a group of monolingual infants who are exposed to pantomime, and a group of monolingual infants exposed to American Sign Language. The key difference here is that in experimental design, the researchers are manipulating the experiences so that the groups are receiving different experimental experiences. Which experimental stimuli, pantomime versus ASL, was controlled and manipulated by the researchers. Randomization. Are the participants randomized into different groups? Randomization refers to the researchers strategically manipulating the grouping of participants in an attempt to limit bias. The researchers should attempt to control for critical variables in both groups, whether that be age, sex, culture, education level, socioeconomic status, etc. The goal here is to try to limit one group from having an imbalance of participants with a specific variable that could impact the results. Both types of research designs could use groups, but only experimental research will strategically randomize the participants in the groups. Okay, now let's return to the troll theory and think about which research design would be best to try to answer if eating trolls really does lead to happiness. Let's start by laying out what a study could look like for each research design. One way we could explore the effects of troll consumption on Bergen happiness is by documenting the happiness levels of Bergens before and after they swallow a troll. We know that on Trollstice, trolls will be consumed, So we could create a happiness survey that Bergens fill out before and after Trollstice. Let's say that for the entire month before Trollstice, we have Bergens complete a happiness survey by self-reporting how they feel every day for an entire month. When Trollstice takes place, there are not enough trolls for every Bergen, so not every Bergen is able to consume one. After Trollstice, we have all the Bergens complete the same happiness survey every day for a second month. Both the Bergens who did consume a troll and those that did not. We then can consider overall happiness pre and post Trollstice and see if there is a significant difference between those who did eat one and those who did not. This approach would be considered a correlational research design. But why? Correlational research involves looking at factors and seeing how they may relate to each other. Most of the time, these factors pre-exist. There is not anything new introduced to participants. Although we created a happiness survey for the Bergens, their levels of happiness was already inside them. And although we took advantage of Trollstice, we did not exert any control or manipulation of their troll-eating celebration. Their happiness and Trollstice both happened naturally. We just used the research materials to collect the data. Once we had the survey data, we could see if there are any relationships between happiness before and after eating trolls. Let's apply the two distinguishing factors. The first factor is control and experimental groups. In our example, did we use groups? Yes, there are two groups of Bergens. One group was able to eat a troll in Trollstice, and the second group was composed of Bergens not able to eat a troll. So there were two different groups, but were the groups randomized, and did we manipulate their experiences to be different? No. Whether or not a Bergen ate a troll was not in our research control. We did not employ randomization, nor did we manipulate any group differences. Now, let's consider answering the same research question, but use an experimental research design. For an experimental research design, we could bring all of the Bergens together, and after considering critical background information, strategically divide them randomly into two groups. Both groups first complete a happiness questionnaire. Next, everyone in both groups is given a troll to eat. After consumption, everyone completes a new happiness questionnaire. Unbeknownst to the Bergens, one group is given real trolls to eat, while the other group is given gummy trolls to eat. This approach would be considered an experimental research design. But why? Let's apply the two distinguishing factors. The first factor is control and experimental groups. There were two groups. The first group consumed real trolls, and the second group consumed fake gummy trolls. Ideally, a fake gummy troll would taste like a real troll, so the Bergens would not be able to distinguish the difference. The formation of the groups and their experiences of eating trolls were strategically manipulated by us, the researchers. Dividing the groups based on whether or not they naturally had the opportunity to eat a troll did not happen. Instead, we sorted the Bergens into two groups and controlled their troll eating experiences. So there were two groups, but were the groups randomized, and did we manipulate their experiences to be different? Yes to both. We clearly stated that we randomized the Bergens. That is a clear indicator that this was an experimental design, but randomization is not always made clear in the abstract of a research article, although it will be made explicit in the methods section. So, does eating trolls make a Bergen happy? Well, you will just have to go to graduate school and submit this as your dissertation topic to find out.